It is day number 111 of the self-quarantine today here in Los Angeles, and today the Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti introduced a color-coded system to indicate the threat level of the coronavirus here in Los Angeles during a press conference. And for more information about this color-coded system, I'm going to break it down. And it goes as follows. It says that COVID-19 continues to pose a serious threat. We need to remain vigilant to reduce the spread of the virus and keep Angelenos safe. To help our community better understand the threat of the virus and what steps you need to take to stay safe, we have created an easy to understand risk monitoring tool. This tool breaks down the risk into four categories: red, orange, yellow, and green. When the indicator is red, you should stay at home because you are on a required safer at home order and only leave for the essential activities like going to work or to the market. And you should assume that you and everyone around you is infectious, and hospitals are almost full, may be unable to care for the volume of patients. When the indicator is in orange, we are at extremely high risk of infection. Residents should take precautions and assume you and everyone around you is infectious. You should stay at home as often as you can and only participate in essential activities. Hospitals are able to handle the current anticipated volume of patients, but the situation may change quickly. When the indicator is yellow, we're successfully flattening the curve, but you should take required precautions. And finally, when the indicator is green, COVID-19 is mostly contained and persists a low risk to Angelenos. And currently, the threat level is in orange. So for now, Los Angeles is going to use this color-coded system to basically tell the public where are we at a threat level, because a lot of people don't know what the threat level is with all this information going on. And I think with this, it kind of simplifies it, and it automatically is saying that since we're at this orange level and we're looking like we might get to that red level if things don't change, this could be a good way for people to immediately start making smart decisions, start taking it seriously, and also they can go to that website in Los Angeles, the county website, to get more information about what they can do to take the precautions, how to stop the spread of COVID-19, and if they have any more questions, they can go to their local health department or public health department websites, and they can give them all the information that they need about what to do to protect themselves from COVID-19 and how to stop the spread. So moreover, another thing that was announced later today, in West Hollywood, if you're a resident there, it's basically on the west side of Los Angeles. If you are not wearing any type of mask, any type of facial covering while you're outside or you're at the business, the police could cite you and they could ticket you about $300. And also, it was just barely announced a couple minutes ago that Santa Monica is going to do the same thing. But the fines could go anywhere between $600 to $1,000. And it goes both for people who are not wearing masks and also businesses who are not wearing masks or following any type of COVID-19 protocols that have been introduced by the city. So this is a way that they're trying to enforce everyone to wear a mask, and it's being enforced by the police as well. So it's the issue of they can issue citations to people without face coverings, and I think that's a good thing. That should have happened like a long time ago. Better late than never. But I guess because we're on this threat level, and with the rising of cases and spikes of the coronavirus here in Los Angeles, there is little choice that we have, and this is where we have to be. And this is not about a political thing. This is science. And science says that if you wear a mask, that's one of the best weapons that you have to combat COVID-19. And like I said before, anytime I go outside, it doesn't matter even if I'm on my house, I'm going to be wearing a mask, because there is just too much at risk at this very moment. and the way the trajectory of these cases and spikes that are going so far in Los Angeles and all over the United States, it may look like we're getting closer to that category red of the coronavirus color coded system. Something else I also wanted to mention that I didn't have a chance to say yesterday on my last video. There was a Black Lives Matter protest that was happening in the late afternoon. It was happening in downtown, but then it went to the 110 freeway around that downtown area, and it basically stopped all traffic. The Los Angeles Police Department were there as well, observing to see if the protest was peaceful. And so far, from what I heard and from what the news says, it was very peaceful. There wasn't any rioting. There wasn't any fights. There was a good distance between protesters and police. The protesters were not being violent. Neither was the police. But they were making their voices heard with the signs and with their voices. But so far, from what I heard, again, it was still a continuing of the George Floyd protest. And not just in Los Angeles, but there are other places around the United States that the protests are still continuing. Like, for example, in New York, it was still continuing even after things died down. I think they said that it was like about day 30 of the protest. So they're protesting until they see a change on the police department. Reform, defunded, like you name it. And talking about police reform, it was announced today, but the Los Angeles City Council, that they have voted and agreed to cut over $150 million from the LAPD budget, which starts the fiscal year that started yesterday on July 1st. And all that money that's being taken away from the LAPD will be moved and to be funded to community programs. What those community programs are, we don't know. So right now we're seeing the after effects of the protests that happened here in Los Angeles. But we'll see if this was a positive move or a negative move. It's too early to say. And we don't know where that money is going to go to, again, to the community programs. So it's kind of like a wait and see kind of moment. But so far, that's what's happened so far, going back to the George Floyd protest, and also how does it affect the Los Angeles Police Department here in Los Angeles. Regarding the coronavirus here in Los Angeles, the number of cases and deaths continue to rise. Unfortunately, the spikes are still continuing up to this day, and it hasn't slowed down by any means. And unfortunately, the cases have gone up to over 107,000 cases so far, and the number of deaths has gone to 3,400. And something else that was also announced, and a lot of the different scientists and medical scientists, specifically even from the study from the Johns Hopkins, that today was one of the worst spikes in the United States. Over 50,000 Americans were tested positive for the coronavirus. And that just says everything that we need to know, that the United States is not doing a good enough job to slow the spread of this disease. And it had so much time at the very beginning to implement some sort of wide guidelines, but it was up to different states to do that. And a lot of different states weren't doing it. And I think another factor that they said was the very early opening of the economy also had a lot to do with it, and also that people were not complying to the COVID-19 guidelines. And with the Memorial Day weekend that happened, where people were going to the beach that were not complying to any of the COVID-19 guidelines, that were not wearing masks or social distancing, then with the protests that happened, and now with the upcoming 4th of July weekend, it is a very scary situation at this very moment. We could possibly see another spike, but it's kind of like a wait and see kind of moment. But a lot of the medical scientists are urging all Americans during this 4th of July weekend to stay at home, to not go outside, to limit your 4th of July celebrations or barbecue to your only family members that live in your house, and to do your best to wear your mask. That wearing a mask is, again, not a political issue, but it's science, and it's to save lives, to save your life and to save the lives around you. So that is it for today's video. So everyone, stay strong, stay safe.